Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Student Health and Safety Protocols for Middle School and High School. My name is Cheryl Tedisco, and I'm the Director of Health Education from the Office of Health and Wellness. It's a pleasure and privilege to welcome you to this 75-minute learning session. I'm grateful for your time and attention. In our session, you will receive information and resources to help you explain Boston's health and safety protocols to students in an age and developmentally appropriate manner across grade bands. All learning materials, including this PowerPoint, will be available to you at the end of our time together. The Office of Health and Wellness traditionally begins all meetings with a welcoming ritual. Welcoming rituals are inclusive, respectful, and engaging. They provide opportunities for the community to come together and learn from one another. At times, you might find that some people may choose not to engage, and that's okay. Today's welcoming ritual is called Rose, Thorn, Bud. This opening ritual is taken directly from the lesson that you will be sharing with your student. Here's how it works. Simply choose one of the images and an accompanying verse from the screen. Specifically, choose a rose if you would like to share a success or something positive that has happened this week. Choose a thorn if you would like to share something you have found challenging since starting back to school. Choose a bud if you would like to share a new idea or something you're looking forward to learning about. I invite you to participate. Please pause this presentation for 2 minutes to allow for sharing. You can share your responses in the chat feature. Thank you so much for your participation in one of the 3 cell signature practices. The 3 cell signature practices, a welcoming ritual, engaging activities, and an optimistic close will be included in our session together. The signature practices provide explicit opportunities to embed and practice social-emotional learning competencies and skills. Let's move on to our agenda. This is our agenda for today. You can see that our learning will be structured in 3 parts. Part 1, setting the stage. Part 2, considering our community. And Part 3, reviewing the resources. Our meeting today is framed by a welcoming ritual and an optimistic close, which again are 2 of the 3 cell signature practices. So let's set the stage. But before, we're going to meet our health team. So this is the health education team. The health education team consists of Meg Rebel, who's with us today. She's our sexual health education coordinator. Susie Spressert is in another commitment, another PD commitment, and she is our health education instructional coach for students in grades pre-K through 12. We're fortunate to have Pat Santon today. She's our health education instructional coach from grades pre-K to 12 for students with disabilities. And Felicia Simmons is our Empowering Teens Through Health grant coordinator and our personal technology wizard, which is so grateful for her many, many talents today. We are here to support you throughout this PD, so please put any questions you may have in the chat. And we're also excited to support you this year to bring health education to your students. All right, now we're going to go to part 1, setting the stage. So the overarching objectives on this slide help to focus our work on practices that are culturally and linguistically sustaining, anti-racist, advanced slide and your other professionals. So I'm not going to read that aloud to you, but I just ask that you look it over and that you know that our session is grounded in these objectives. To continue, we would like to offer these agreements for your consideration. Today, we invite you to be fully present, to assume best intentions, to share the air, and to focus on the positive and what you can take away from this session. As you read these over, could you kindly use the reactions button located on the bottom of your screen to provide a thumbs up or a hand clap if you agree with these shared agreements? Excellent. Thank you. Next, let's review our session objectives. There are 3 session objectives. At the end of this session, you will be able to explain Boston's health and services reopening guidance in a student-friendly manner across grade bands. You will be able to access age-appropriate lessons on BPS's health and safety protocols for COVID-19 in our Health Education Remote Learning Library. You'll also find in this Health Education Remote Learning Library health lessons on sleep, nutrition, stress management, courage. I encourage you to explore that at your convenience. And number 3, we're going to explore lesson resources to educate and reinforce specific health protective behaviors like mask wearing and physical distancing, so that you will be able to deliver that information to your students in a way that they can access it. Let's talk for a moment about what is health education. So health education is an academic discipline with national and state standards, as well as BPS student learning outcomes and a scaffolded scope and sequence that outlines evidence-based curriculum from pre-K to grade 12. BPS's comprehensive health education program is summarized in a document entitled Meet Our BPS Health Teachers, which is included in the resource slide at the end of this deck. Let's take a look at those national health education standards, which are located in the center of this slide. The National Health Education Standards, first published in 1995, have always been inclusive of social-emotional learning competencies. Looking at this slide, on the far right-hand side, you will see Boston's transformative cell learning competencies. You can see the interconnectedness. Finally, health education is one of Boston's key components in the wellness policy. So if you take a look at the wellness policy, thank you so much for pointing that out, on the left-hand side of the slide, you will see that health education is represented by the purple icon. There is a comprehensive health education policy that you can find, again, linked in to the document at the end of the resources. So, a word about health education. Health education has always been paramount. We are reminded in times like these, in this time of a dual pandemic, of its essentiality. Health education builds essential skills. It has real and lasting positive effects on students, on their families, and our community at large, not just now, but for generations to come. Health education provides continuous opportunities for students to practice skills that reinforce healthy behaviors and support health-enhancing choices across their lifespan. It addresses every aspect of what's going on during the dual pandemics and the interconnectedness of social and emotional health. And it builds home-school connections by engaging families in important conversations on health topics. And finally, health education coaches students on advocacy platforms to be agents of change. Good health is a national goal that, when achieved, will help the nation and its communities heal and move forward. Healthy students are students who are able to learn. Please take 20 seconds to reflect on your own health and the impact that it has on your daily life, on your abilities, and your decisions. Next looked at the Health Services Reopening Guidance. So the next 2 slides reference the Health Services Reopening Guidance. and it is the document upon which this presentation and all the student-facing lesson materials were created. The reopening guidance includes health and safety protocols for 3 specific times in the school day. First, before students and staff enter the school building. Second, while students and staff are in the school building. And third, how to return to school after showing symptoms. The details of this document, the Health and Services Guiding Document, will be outlined for you in individual school meetings by your school nurse. Okay, so now we're going to test your knowledge, and I'm going to hand the microphone over to my colleague, Felicia Simmons. Take it away, Felicia.
Good morning, everyone. As Cheryl has mentioned, the Health Services has created a reopening guidance. And although many of you may not have seen this document just yet or have gone through it with your nurse or health services team within your school, we'd like to just test some of your knowledge. I know you'll be able to get these questions correct, so don't worry too much. Awesome. So I'm going to quickly launch a poll, and that first question is, true or false? BPS students and employees are required to complete a home screening checklist prior to reporting to work or school. So I'll give everyone about 8 seconds to complete the poll. If you're unable to use the poll, please feel free to use the chat or wait until the end and the answer will pop in. So whatever is most comfortable for you. All right, I'll be ending the poll. Let's look at a result. So as most of you answered, it is true. BPS students and employees are going to be required to do a home screening check prior to reporting to work to check for symptoms of COVID. Great job, everyone. Now let's move on to the next question. And the next question is, I can return to school after experiencing COVID-19 symptoms after remaining home for at least 10 days, after I have no fever or for 24 hours without medicine, after all my symptoms have improved, or all of the above. All right, I'll be ending the poll here, and let's see what everyone has chosen. All right, we have a little bit of a mix here, but overall, majority of the group has answered that correctly. So you can return to school after experiencing COVID-19 symptoms if you've remained home at least 10 days, you no longer have a fever without medicine, and all of your symptoms have been improved. All right, we're almost halfway there, just 2 more questions. And the third question is the following. When should I wipe down my workspace? Just at the beginning of the school day, at the beginning of the school day and the end of rotations and classes, just at the end of the school day, or all of the above? All right, I think this must have been a really easy one for everyone. Going to close out, share the results. And as you can imagine, we're going to be wiping down our desks all day, every day. So all of the above. And we have one more polling question here. And it's the following. Will our school leaders inform us that someone has tested positive for COVID? Yes, of course, for our safety. Only if we are in close contact with them. Yes, but the information will not include names, as that is a protected medical information. Or D, no one will tell us anything. All right, let's end this one here. Once again, the overall group answered correctly. And yes, we will be notified if someone has tested positive. However, this will not include their name, as that is protected medical information. Thank you everyone for participating in the poll. And now I'm going to pass this over to Cheryl.
Great, thank you, Felicia. That was a lot of fun. As we continue to set the stage, let's explore, well, what is COVID-19? Coronavirus refers to a family of viruses that cause many different types of diseases, including the common cold and the flu. SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, thank you, is an example of a coronavirus. Fun fact, coronaviruses are named for the crown-like spikes on their surfaces. They were first documented in the mid-1960s. So if you look at this, this slide, I challenge you, can you count the number of crown-like spikes on these coronaviruses? So COVID-19 is a novel or a new coronavirus, and the name is a mashup of letters and one number, which you can see in this slide. Slides on key vocabulary words like COVID-19 are one of the components included in the student-facing PowerPoint to build health literacy. And again, you will receive all of these materials at the end of our presentation today. We're on to part 2 already. And for that, I'm going to pass the microphone back to Felicia. Take it away.
All right, so part 2 is all about considering our communities. COVID-19 has revealed nationally the deep-seated health inequities and disparities for many of our communities. Systematic inequities in areas of our lives that impact our health, also known as social determinants of health, including housing, education, access to healthcare, disproportionately affect racial and ethnic minority groups, leading to an increased risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19. So what is the connection between health education and health equity? Let's start with defining health equity. Health equity is when everyone has the opportunity to be as healthy as possible. This would therefore not only include having access to these opportunities, but also understanding why they are important and how to utilize these resources. That's where health education comes in, right? The current pandemic has drastically highlighted the need for comprehensive education, especially for our students of color, due to high levels of misinformation and high risk of comorbidities within our communities. It is clear that we must provide all of our students the opportunity to build health literacy skills to make informed decisions about their health and the health of their communities. Health education is included in BPS's 2020-2025 strategic plan as a core element needed to create a high-quality school. And this is the perfect time to meet that challenge and bring health education to our classrooms. And back to you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Felicia. So let's talk for a moment about the return to school. The return to school this year will be unlike any other in our educational history. It will be emotionally charged, as evidenced by COVID-19, our socio-political climate, visible killings of people of color, and the unwavering voice of anti-racist protests across our nation. In her writings, Dr. Bettina Love reminds us that conversations that unpack and challenge ideas about race, class, privilege, religion, sexuality, sexism, and power are critical to the everyday lives of students of color. Health education learning materials focus on the strengths and the assets of our students, our families, and our school communities. Our materials are trauma-informed and strength-based. They're also designed to help students learn and practice the skills needed to be self-determined, independent learners, able to pursue their aspirations and thus address BPS's problem of practice. Healthy students are students who are ready to learn. To complete part 2 of the training, I invite you to take a look at a movement activity through a trauma-informed lens. In this activity, you will have voice and choice. We invite you to join the fun in just one moment. First, I need you to think about your movement choice. The options are, number 1, you can dance and mime along with this really fun hand-washing song. Number 2, you can run in place and also mime how to wash your hands. Number 3, you can listen and tap out the beat. Number 4, just stay seated and do arm stretches. And I invite you to do number 5, which is an activity of your choice as you listen to the music. Once you've made your movement choice, I invite you to choose your music. Click on to the first picture to hear the song in Spanish. This was the song that greeted many of you when you came in to our waiting room this morning. The second box shows the same song in English, and the final box, the third option, starts the song with the official Hip Hop Public Health group. Now, given that we're in a large group, we're actually going to choose the music, and we're going to choose the second version. The same song that you heard this morning in Spanish will be presented to you in English. So once you've made your movement choice, again, dance and mime hand washing, run in place, miming hand washing, listening and tapping out the beat, staying seated and doing arm stretches, or number 5, bringing in an activity of your choice, we're going to start the music. We'll listen to the music for a minute on my clock, and then we'll come back together. So are you ready for the Hip Hop Public Health group? Felicia, take it away.
Range from 146,500.
My people downtown, wash your hands. People from the East, wash your hands.
You can control Bluetooth audio from the
social distance, non-existent, don't resist this, get on in an instant, if you miss this.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back. Did you scrub under your nails? Did you remember to wash your wrists and both sides of your hands as well as in between your fingers? I hope you feel energized with clean hands and ready for more learning. This movement break has been brought to you by DJ Felicia Simmons and the health education team, and it is included in the student-facing PowerPoint that you will share with your students. It's now my pleasure to turn over the mic to Megra, and Megra is going to take us through the last part, part 3, reviewing the resources. Megra, on to you.
So hi, my name is Megra Bell, and I'm the coordinator of sexual health education and the Office of Health and Wellness. And part 3 is the last section of learning for today. We'll be reviewing the resources and highlighting some of the student-facing materials. Again, I want to point out that this workshop is to provide materials for you to use to explain the COVID safety protocols for your students. I'm sure you'll have much more detailed information about many of the questions you may have from your school nurse. So you will receive a complete student-facing PowerPoint to accompany lesson materials. This is the 7th to 12th grade materials. They will be available in the chat box at the end of this presentation. You can send one of us an email. I recommend contacting Cheryl if you'd like to other grade bands. We also have a 3rd to 6th grade presentation, and we have a K-2 presentation. Each PowerPoint includes essential questions, key vocabulary, engaging activities, virtual classrooms, and assessments for you to use in your class, in your lessons. So this is the essential question for this: how can I be healthy and protect myself and others from spreading germs, including and especially those germs that cause COVID-19? So this is what we're using to explain the VPS health and safety policies to our 7th to 12th graders. The next few slides focus on virtual classrooms, which are embedded in the student-facing PowerPoint. I'm not sure if anyone's experienced a virtual classroom before. What is a virtual classroom? It's an online learning tool in which students engage with the content. You can see a picture of it right on the right there. You click on different objects throughout the presented classrooms, and each object is linked to web pages with additional learning information. So clicking on the object is interactive, takes a student to another web page to learn more. So they come with directions, and we're going to actually go through we have 3 different virtual classrooms, which we are going to link in, and we're going to give you a chance to explore. So let's go to the next slide. So this one actually is the elementary classroom. I'm going to include all 3. Like I said, we're going to let you explore those. We have an elementary, we have a secondary, and we have a family. You can see the progression between the elementary, the secondary, and the different kinds of links. Those are big grade bands. We tried to make something that would be appealing to all of students within those. So on your screen now is elementary classroom. It has age-appropriate materials and COVID-19 and contains links to resources in hand washing and mask wearing and social distancing. And I want folks to look at the image. These were made by our fabulous Maggie Carmona, who is not in the presentation today, but she made all of these classrooms. The image in the window is a skyline of Boston, and it is from a particular park in Boston. And I'm wondering if anyone recognizes this park. Extra bonus points if you can guess what this park is. I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat, and we'll see who gets that. Then, so can we go to the next slide, though? So this is the secondary class from grades 7 to 12. Large grade band, we tried to include links that appeal to all learners. In this classroom, I would like to call out the Y2 Connect poster under the clock. So right there, thank you for pointing that out. So Y2 Connect is an interactive search engine which has been developed specifically for the city of Boston in order to connect learners to student-friendly. It's a student-friendly app for student-friendly healthcare services that people can access in their neighborhoods. So you enter your Boston zip code to find the health services in your neighborhood. I highly recommend checking this out to further your support your students. By the way, I don't know if anyone got it. I'm not looking at the chat, but Where is the Boston Park? What did we get for it? Well, I'll let, oh, yeah, Pierce Park. So hopefully somebody got that, but great, great guesses. Okay, so we're going to go on to the third one. The final classroom, which is, this is a family classroom. It's be featured in the PowerPoint as well to help students continue these conversations at home. Our hope is that the entire BPS community, from East Boston to Hyde Park, Dorchester to Alston, will access these materials and see themselves in these materials. Our goal is to build a common understanding of public health and safety. At the same time, we continue to build activities crucial to supporting and building authentic partnerships with our families. If you look at this classroom, you'll notice we've taken some liberties in reconstructing the Citgo sign. Again, you will see a link to Y2 Connect, that fantastic resource for our Boston students and families. So what we're actually going to do now is we're going to give folks a little bit of time to explore these. And if one of my colleagues could drop a link into the chat, then what I'm going to ask folks to do, we're going to have 5 minutes to jump into the classroom of your choice. And so basically what you do is you just hover over what you want, click into it, it will open up another window. You can look at that, you can come back to the classroom and open another link, right? So we're going to put a timer on. I'm going to let you go, right? Let's check the chat, make sure those links are in there. Excellent. So go into those links, give you 5 minutes to explore all the resources. And if you have questions at the end, we're going to do that. I'm wondering if one of my colleagues can address the BPS access and make the virtual classrooms available to all. You should be able to just click onto the link listed above.
As you are exploring, and you have about 2.5 minutes left to do that again, you can click on to the link provided. That will take you to PDFs of the documents. Just hover over the image of your choice, click on that image, which will take you to a new resource to further explain that image. I'm going to reshare the link now. I know sometimes people get bumped out. So the link is shared again.
excuse me, everyone, there's a little over 20 seconds left. We ask that you kindly wrap up your exploration and join back with us. Thank you.
So welcome back, and I'd love to know how was your visit to the virtual classroom. I invite you to comment on what you think of the virtual classrooms in the chat box. Please, any suggestions, any questions, any comments, the usability for your class, all of that would be greatly appreciated, and we will be providing you with access to all of these to use with your students in a variety of ways. And we're going to continue on. And for folks asking the questions about how to create one, they are easy and yet time consuming to create. So we can also, I know that OYIT has some webinars on how to create virtual classrooms, and I think it's really worth it to create some interactive activities for your students. So we're going to continue on. We're going to go through some of the topics that we have in this COVID safety protocols lessons. Look at more resources. We've included a few examples of slides in each topic to give you a flavor of what's in the student-facing PowerPoint. Okay, so the health and safety practices that you will need to cover with your students include hand washing, mask wearing, physical distancing, cleaning classroom surfaces, how to be safe around the drinking water fountains, and when to stay home. So we're going to start with hand washing. There was a video. One of the things that is included in this section is actually all of those hand washing videos that came earlier on. Jumping ahead, let's go one to the next one. Great. So this slide describes when students will be required to wash their hands. If you can take a moment to read this list to yourself. The new protocols are going to require an investment of time. For example, we imagine guidelines and resources needed for hand washing as students enter and when they leave BPS building. I know that these will take energy to create new routines, and that is really not lost to us. But we're just trying to create these routines, and this will be also supported by your school nurse, who can have much more information on many of these things. So depending on your building, you may find students sanitizing their hands more often than using soap and water. Soap and water is a best practice. Soap and water does work better than hand sanitizer, but hand sanitizer is sometimes available where soap and water and full sink is not. Guide to hand washing and sanitizer is listed on this slide. You can reassure students that hand sanitizer will be available throughout the day in key locations. It is important that students follow the same guidelines for effective hand washing when sanitizing. Both require 20 seconds to be effective. Both require covering all surfaces of the hands. A hand washing guide will be included in your materials and is featured in the virtual classrooms. There are also a number of video options. So we're moving on to mask wearing. Mask wearing is an essential safety measure during COVID-19 and will most likely be helpful in containing the seasonal flu this year, in addition to COVID-19. Reports indicate that people of all ages need gentle reminders on how to properly wear a mask. We've included those in the slide and encourage you to use these images to start conversations with your students around the importance of proper mask wearing. Using the health services reopening guidance. So all of this is basically information taken from the health services guidance that is condensed into student-friendly language. We anticipated some key questions that students may have and offer some answers on this slide. We welcome you to share other questions on mask wearing that you or your students may have in the chat. And we're going to move on to drinking water. Students are encouraged to stay hydrated. Please note that there are some new guidelines for drinking water. So the water fountains will be turned off. That is probably not going to be a safe option, is the water fountains. Students should bring a reusable water bottle to school that is full. There will be still the water dispensers, the water coolers with disposable cups. Obviously, they should never share, but the drinking water, you cannot wear a mask while drinking water. So there's going to be a protocol for that, which is wash your hands or sanitize, remove your mask, drink the water, sanitize, wash your hands, put your mask back on. So we want to make sure that we are keeping safe all along the process. Our next topic is cleaning desks. Now, there is a lot of protocol in terms of what building maintenance is going to be doing, but also it is important for students to be contributing. The protocol for cleaning desks and tables is listed on this slide. Note that surfaces should be wiped down at the beginning of the day, at the beginning and end of a rotation or class, and at the end of the school day. Cleaning desks and tables is shared responsibility. There are building maintenance protocols, but those are beyond the scope of this PD, but it's important for students to be contributing and participating in cleaning all of the surfaces. Now more than ever, it is imperative that students understand the symptoms of COVID-19 and stay home when they are unwell to care for themselves and to protect others. One of the things that you will be provided with is a BPS student at-home health checklist. The key signs of COVID that they are going to be asked to check, self-check every morning. Do they have a cough? Do they have chills or fever? Do they have any difficulty breathing, body muscle aches, pain, loss of sense of taste or smell, or a sore throat? Any of these would be an indication that they should check in with their school nurse. When in doubt, always check with a school nurse. And so next question is, what if I feel sick at school? So if a student feels ill at school, they should tell a teacher or school staff member immediately and head to the medical waiting area, and the nurse will assess your symptoms. There's going to be much new safety protocol regarding the nurse's office, and they can explain more about that. All right, so thank you so much. Those are a short piece of the materials that we'll be providing you in the chat box later on, and I'm going to turn this back to Cheryl.
Right, thank you so much, Megra. That was an excellent overview of all of the resources. Once again, the PowerPoints, both this PowerPoint, which we call the teacher-facing PD PowerPoint, as well as the student-facing PowerPoint, will be included. Those links will be put into the chat at the end of our time together. We ask that when you do, I'm going to pause for a moment and just ask people to double check their microphones, please. I'm just hearing some background noise. So I'm going to wait a moment while everybody has that chance to please check their microphone and be sure that it's on mute. Thank you so much for that. So we ask that once we share the materials with you, that should you decide that you want to change some slides to make them more appropriate for your group of learners, that you please make a copy of that slide deck and then from there make the edits. You'll all get viewing privileges to all the materials. And again, we just ask that you take a moment, you make a copy of those materials, and then adjust them as you see fit. So let's continue on. We have, to enhance understanding of all the new protocols, the health education team has created additional student games and resources, which I'd like to share with you now. This is one example of getting accurate information about COVID-19. We understand that there's a lot of misinformation out there. So in your student-facing slide deck, there are a few more true-false questions, which are a great way to engage your students. It's important to reinforce going to accurate sources for COVID-19 information and actually any health information, as there are a lot of rumors which may be confusing to students and undermining our public health message. So let's play. This is one of my favorite slides. To answer this slide, we ask that you put your answer in the chat, or you can give us a thumbs up or thumbs down if you're comfortable having your camera on to do so. True or false? You can get a face mask exemption card so you don't need to wear a mask. I see lots of answers coming in, and I see a mix of answers, all the way from true to all the way to false. Let's take a few more seconds, and we'll go 3, 2, 1, and we'll move on to the next slide. And the answer to this is false. You cannot get a face mask exemption card. And I know that's one of the rumors that is out there. Let's move on to the next slide. This is one of my personal favorites. And this is a game board that was created by the multi-talented Felicia Simmons. And this game board will help students process and review the new health and safety protocols. So these materials, again, depending upon the learners in your classroom, you might have students, you might have English language learners in your classroom, you may have students with disabilities. This allows every student voice and choice and to join as is best suited for them. I am amazed by Felicia's work on this board. You can, not right now, but you can click on all the game pieces and start to move those pieces. You'll notice at the bottom of the game board, there's a question mark in a blue card. So the blue card with the question mark in the center is actually a digital card deck of questions. So there's some of the questions that we've asked you, some of the questions, again, the questions address the information, the content that's in the health services guidance. We do welcome you to try this out on your own before sharing with students. All right, let's move on to solving the outbreak and allowing our students to be epidemiologists. So this is, again, another challenge by choice activity, and this comes to you courtesy of the CDC. You'll see at the bottom a link to this website, CDC Solve the Outbreak, and students get to be epidemiologists and to try to actually solve the outbreak. This is challenging, and you might, you want to probably check that out before you offer it to your students. And I hope you have as much fun as I did and are able to get a little further than I did. Again, all of these resources will be shared with you. All right, moving on to the next slide. These are just some famous epidemiologists. We are very fortunate in our community to have Dr. Michelle Williams as the Dean of Harvard School of Public Health. She was born in Jamaica and attended Princeton, Tufts, and Harvard. And then we also have Dr. Neil Bora. We feel it's very important for students to see themselves in this work, and we have tried to include career professionals in all of our slide decks. Whether you're looking at a slide deck on germs, on student safety protocols, we try our best to include people who are currently in those fields. So we're on to our last interactive activity, and that is scenario discussions. For this final section, Felicia will be putting you into breakout rooms in a few moments. In your group, you will review different student situations, right? If you are working independently, you can review the scenarios at your own pace. We do know that some people will be watching the recordings of this. So I do want to review the scenarios very quickly because we have had a little bit of trouble with people being able to access them. So very quickly, before you are put into your group and meet your 4 to 5 other colleagues. Student number 1, why do I have to wear my mask all day? This is so silly. I can't even breathe in this thing. I don't have COVID. Student number 2, is a student who has pre-existing conditions and they start to cough and somebody chants, "Student who has the Rona," and the rest of the class begins to chime in. Student number 3 is a student who comes up to you and says to you, "I'm not feeling 100% right. I have a cold and my head is pounding." And then student number 4, "Teacher, this whole situation is making me really nervous. I thought I could handle coming into school, but I just don't know anymore. I keep thinking about, well, what if I catch COVID and what could it do to my family? We've already lost someone." So again, you're going to be put into groups to discuss these. We will be very attentive to the chat and try our best to get these to you. And I think we're ready. Felicia, are you ready to put people into groups? You'll have about 5 minutes to discuss. And just, again, doing a time check, we are at 10:28, so we have 17 minutes left with our time together today.
Awesome. Yep, so as you can see, everyone, I have dropped the link to the scenario within the chat. So please be sure to click on that, open it up prior to jumping into your groups. There will be about 3 to 4 people within each group, and will allow you to choose your own adventure. So with your team, feel free to choose which scenario you'd like to do, and if you have time, continue and solve them all. All right, I'll be placing you in your groups. Enjoy. There we go. Hi, Laura. Were you currently in a group?
Hi, no, I was just gonna type you a message. I can watch asynchronously later if I need to. I was late.
Oh, okay. The groups are just, people are just currently in breakout groups. Would you like to join one?
I don't know what's happened so far, so what's the best?
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely be posting a asynchronous one as we're in our final 10 minutes or so of the professional development.
All right, I'll do it that way. Thank you.
No problem.
I hope that you can remove this part from the video.
Oh, yeah, I hope so too. We'll figure it out.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great day. And as for you, DW, were you in a group prior to this?
Sharing with your colleagues, we were hoping to have some time to share out in the larger group, but I'm looking at my clock and it says we have 6 minutes left together. Just so that you know, when this workshop officially ends at 10:45, we will be hanging out until 11 to answer any specific questions that you may have. All right, so we're going to move on to the optimistic close, and that's how we've bookmarked our time together today. Before we jump into that optimistic close, I just want to acknowledge the intense learning that you've been asked to do over the past 2 weeks to support your students. On behalf of the Health and Wellness Office and our health team, we thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate your talents. We appreciate your dedication to students, and we're grateful that you've joined us today for our live session. You make a difference every day with every student. And please reach out to us if you have any questions about this presentation and if we can support you in any way. So on to our optimistic close. Once again, you'll have a choice. And there are 3 images in front of the screen, and the head, heart, and feet. If you choose the brain, after participating in this learning process today, what is one thing you are thinking? The heart, after participating in this learning today, what is one thing that you're feeling? And finally, the feet. What is one thing that you're excited about doing or implementing that you learned about today? So we invite you to share into the chat with your brain, your heart, or your feet. And I'll pause for a few moments to give you a chance to do that. So as we wrap up our time together, we will be putting the exit ticket into the chat. We're also going to be, and I asked my colleagues for an assist on this, putting this PowerPoint, the link to this PowerPoint, the teacher-facing PowerPoint, into the chat in case you would like to review some of the materials. And finally, the student-facing PowerPoint. The student-facing PowerPoint includes some of the slides you've seen today. And again, all of the videos are in there as well. I just ask that when you take a look at that, when you're ready to use it, if you'd like to make some edits, to just make a copy and then to edit away. If you find some resources that are grade appropriate or specific to your users, we encourage you to share them back. We're constantly updating our resources. So
it says you need access. I just clicked on it.
All right, so we'll have to get to that. So again, if you want to, before you leave today, you could put your email address into the chat, and so we can do some cross-referencing. And I ask you to do that because sometimes the name that's posted, it's difficult to find that in the email list. So if you want to do that, that would be very helpful. Right? So that ends our time today. We are so very grateful for you and that you've chosen to join us in our live session on teaching student health and safety protocols. So again, just complete the exit ticket to be sure that you get your PDPs, and a very warm thank you from our team to all of you. This officially ends our time together. We will be staying on the line again until 11 o'clock to answer any questions. Let's pause just for a minute as people wrap up, and then we'll start looking at your questions in just about a minute. Thanks, everyone. Great to meet you all.